What was the challenge for the company when bringing you on?
I would think the challenge for the company in bringing me on was I think the founder, Guy Falzerano, did a great job of making sure that he had a team around him that understood the product and the service. So for me, being that early childhood education expert who understood business, and then making sure that he also had people who understood franchising. So we had a really good senior team that half were from the early childhood education field and half were from the franchising field, whether that was hospitality or, as I indicated before, restaurants or things like that. And so what's important really, I think, is for a CEO or founder to make sure that he or she surrounds themselves with people who know more than they do.
Totally.
And so what Guy recognized is that I knew a lot more about early childhood education in many different sites. He had done a great job and had a great basis, but was a little bit more well-known in that, and then bringing me on for that reason, which was helpful for the brand too. So I think one of the greatest things that a leader can do, and the hardest thing that a leader can do, is recognize they don't know everything, and recognize that there are going to be times where they're going to need to hire people who are going to be smarter and quicker and probably going to take their job one day. And that's the best part about it, is that you get to help people grow and succeed.
So curious to know, when you were starting out as the COO in this company that was just beginning to launch franchising, do you remember back then what were the most important things that you needed to work on?
There were a couple things that I needed to work on. The most important things that I needed to work on was understanding franchising. So anything franchising that I could read, I literally sat down and read the FDD. I read Franchising for Dummies. I went to conferences. I hired consultants. Everything that I could do franchising. I went to other brands to really immerse myself into that. And I think that it took me a few years to really appreciate it and understand that. I think the other piece was the financial piece, and making sure the unit economics and that financial model was really fine-tuned in a way that helped franchisees to really excel, not only from a satisfaction point of view in their franchise, but from a financial point of view. So how do we help them, not just with that top line revenue, but how do we help them with what that EBIT is going to be, helping them through what staff management is, or through expenses and things of that nature.
We talk about unit economics right at every franchise conference. We talk about it on the podcast all the time. We can't talk about it enough because in my mind, there's always an emerging franchisor that's starting out. That's, of course, we worry about selling franchises and keeping the lights on. But if the franchisees aren't making money, you're going to be a statistic and you're not going to last very long.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I think it's important to, there are different concepts that come through, but there's certain concepts that are want concepts and certain concepts that are need concepts. I think most of us need to get our hair cut at some point. And I think we need childcare. I think COVID taught us very well that you can't sit home and try to work remotely and have your children crawling at your feet or wandering around your home. You can't give either one the attention that they really need. And then there are concepts that come through in franchising that, are somewhat explosive and then die down a little bit. And that's okay too. That's the bells and the whistles that make it really fun in life. But I love being in a concept where we're really giving back and we're really essential. I mean, we found out during COVID that parents can't work without us, and that the economy can't survive without the infrastructure of early childhood education. And that's a great place to be and to feel, and to make sure that we're serving as many people as possible. And we're helping to be advocates for children who are underserved, and making sure that they are getting the care they need as well.
With all of the child care options that there are, how did you, as the COO, and we'll get into when you became CEO, but as the COO, how did you navigate that to differentiate the brand from all the other competition that's out there?
So that's a really good question. I was talking about it this morning, and I talk about it every single day, and I mean it to just the core of who I am. The reason that I took this position, having been home with my own consulting group and my own consulting company and writing books and speaking and raising my own 4 children, when I went back to work, and choosing what was Rainbow Academy at the time, and we rebranded to Lightbridge Academy, was choosing what Guy founded are the core values in the circle of care. We make every decision based on what the core values are. So whether that's caring deeply or happiness or integrity and leading by example and delivering wow customer service, and I can go on and on and on, and the stakeholders in our circle of care, but we really do care. And I wanted this position because I knew that I would never be asked to compromise my integrity. And when you're caring for people's children, there is nothing more important than transparency, recognizing that you're not even in the childcare business, you're in the trust business. And what's wonderful about Lightbridge, beyond that culture defined by the core values in the circle of care, is that we have cameras in every single classroom and open area, multi-purpose room, et cetera, where parents, not only the administration, can see what's happening in the classroom, but parents and grandparents, if the parents so choose, or family members that they want, can also see what's happening. And that's real open door policy. That's real transparency, because when humans are serving humans, mistakes happen. And what's important to me as a leader and my team and all of us is that children are always safe. And when we have a lot of eyes on them, we have a lot of people watching, and we can make sure that, one, I think it makes people kind of do a better job because that they know eyes are on them. And then secondly, I think that if there's something that's not happening in a way that it should be, that it's going to be pointed out to you quickly so that you can correct that, because children cannot be advocates for themselves. We have to be advocates for them.
Yeah. Well, you figured out very quickly, as you pointed out, that you were not in the childcare business, and you said I was in the trust business. And I hope that there are the folks that are listening to this that are founders of their brand, they realize what business you're in, and then there's what business you're really in. How did business change on how you really operated, besides like cameras and stuff, that you realize you're in the trust business? How does that transcend the company?
Yeah, so I think there are a couple things. I think that we have to be really transparent with people, that I indicated before. I think that trust is usually given to people in one of two ways. I either trust you immediately until something happens, and then I don't trust you, or I need to gain your trust over time. And regardless of how people, whether those are staff members or owners or consumers, come to us, is that if we continue to do a good job on a regular basis, is that trust will grow. Now, I also know that it's very easy to get this big bottle of trust and to knock it over with just one drop. But what sets apart the good franchisees and the great franchisees is that in any industry, things happen. In a conversation with a parent or a staff member, we might lose somebody's sippy cup. It's not that they happen, because we're going to try to prevent as much as we can, but it's how we handle things when they happen. And that's where trust comes. It's I'm listening to you, I'm valuing you, I'm trying to act upon what you say within reasonable means, and I follow through. And following through is really important. So I think being heard is one thing, and that goes so far. I call it smiles and systems. That, you can get a lot done with relationships and smiles, but you also have those systems there. I'll use an example, and I won't use my regular brand that I love so much, Dunkin' Donuts. But I will say that their customer service where I go is exceptional. But I also drink decaffeinated coffee, which is a whole nother story, and haven't had caffeine in years. So people ask me, why do you even go every day? But I love it. But all the smiles and all the personalization and all the wow customer service that my Dunkin' Donuts gives me every day is not going to be enough if every day they gave me caffeinated coffee. Because I don't respond well to caffeine. So in order to build trust, you have to have the relationship, but you also have to demonstrate that you can consistently provide the service.
Thank you for tuning into the Emerging Franchise Brands podcast. For additional insights, guest applications, and to stay connected, visit us at efbpodcast.com. The Emerging Franchise Brands podcast is for entertainment purposes only, and the views expressed do not necessarily represent those of Emerging Franchise Brands, its host Frank Fumey, or Emerging Franchise Group, LLC. Any discussed franchise or investment opportunity requires thorough investigation, obtaining proper disclosure documents, and expert consultation before making any investment decisions. The podcast and its hosts do not offer professional advice or endorsements, and they hold no responsibility for actions, representations, accuracy, or consequential damages related to the podcast content.